All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Oh, it's good to be back.
This time,
Yeah.
this time we're diving into the world of first loves and summer flings with
Ooh.
excerpts from Jenny Han's novel,
All right.
The Summer I Turned Pretty.
I'm familiar with this one.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So it's all about those sun-kissed days,
Yeah.
intense emotions, and the
Right.
bittersweet feeling of growing up.
Right.
Think you can relate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, coming of age stories like this, they really tap into something universal.
Yeah.
You know, that yearning for connection, the thrill of new experiences.
Yeah.
And the way those summer memories just seem to stay with us forever.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
So we're introduced to Belly, who's practically vibrating with excitement for her family's annual trip to Cousins Beach. And Han really nails those sensory details, like the salty air, the same old radio stations, and that familiar flutter in Belly's chest as they get closer.
I love that.
It just paints such a vivid picture.
It does, and it immediately establishes this sense of ritual and tradition.
Yeah.
You know, making Cousins Beach more than just a vacation spot.
Yeah.
For Belly, it's a second home, a place where everything feels possible.
Yeah.
But this summer is different.
Okay.
It's the summer she turned pretty.
Right.
And that shift in how she sees herself is going to ripple through all their relationships.
Especially with Conrad, right? He's the older brother of the family they stay with.
Okay.
And Belly has harbored a major crush on him forever.
Yeah.
But there's this scene where he looks at her like he'd never looked at her before.
Oh.
And it totally throws Belly off balance.
Yeah.
It made me think about how those small changes in how people see you can feel so huge when you're a teenager.
Absolutely. It's like the whole world shifts on its axis. Right. And it speaks to that larger theme of how our perceptions of ourselves and how others see us change so dramatically during adolescence.
Yeah.
You know, Belly's crush on Conrad is about so much more than just a typical teenage infatuation.
Right.
It represents that longing for the unattainable, the way we often idealize people, especially first loves in those formative years.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I remember having crushes like that where the person felt more like an idea than an actual human being.
Yeah.
Speaking of family, Belly's summer revolves around the Fishers, Susanna, the warm and affectionate mother figure, and her two sons.
Okay.
Conrad, the brooding, mysterious one.
Yes.
And Jeremiah, the fun-loving younger brother.
Right. And the dynamic between the two families is fascinating. We see this stark contrast between Susanna, who is described as having feathery hair after a nap.
Oh, yeah.
Such a charming detail.
I loved that detail.
Right.
Yeah.
And Laurel, Belly's own mother.
Right.
Who's much more reserved.
I noticed that too, and it made me wonder if Han was using the mothers to represent different approaches to love and family. Like Susanna embodies that carefree, embrace every moment kind of love, while Laurel is more cautious and guarded.
That's a really insightful observation.
Oh, thanks.
And that difference is going to play out in how the kids approach their own relationships.
Yeah.
We already see it in Belly's idealized view of Conrad, which is shaped in part by Susanna's influence.
It's like she's projecting those qualities onto him, right?
Right.
The way she describes him as being above it all, playing guitar, preferring solitude.
Yes.
It's almost as if she's fallen for the idea of him rather than the actual person.
Exactly.
It's making me think about those romanticized notions of love we often develop as teenagers.
Exactly. And then you have Jeremiah,
Yeah.
who surprises Belly with his changed appearance and newfound attentiveness.
Yeah.
He represents that more attainable, approachable kind of love. It sets up this classic love triangle.
Right.
The brooding heartthrob versus the sweet, dependable guy.
Yeah.
But it's more than just a simple choice for Belly.
Right.
It's about her figuring out what she truly wants and needs in a relationship.
Yeah.
Which is something we all grapple with.
Totally.
Not just in our teenage years.
Okay, so we have this backdrop of simmering romantic tension.
Yes.
But let's not forget about those quintessential summer traditions.
Right.
Han describes Susanna's famous bouillabaisse dinner on the first night they arrive.
Oh, that.
And the annual bonfire. But this year,
Yeah.
everyone gets a wine glass. which felt like a big deal.
I thought so too.
Right.
It's such a subtle detail, but it signifies this transition into a new phase of summer, a blurring of the lines between childhood and adulthood.
And then there's that recurring motif of something sweet that Conrad's dad always gives them.
Right.
I initially took it as a sweet gesture, but as I kept reading, it felt like it was hinting at something deeper, something maybe not so innocent.
Interesting.
Almost like foreshadowing.
You're picking up on some really great details.
Well, thanks.
Han is masterful at weaving in these seemingly insignificant moments that take on a whole new meaning as the story unfolds.
Yeah.
And those summer traditions, while providing a sense of comfort and continuity, also highlight the underlying shifts happening within the family.
And those shifts are definitely there.
Right.
Because beneath the surface of those idyllic summer days, there's this undercurrent of tension and complexity.
Okay.
We learn that Susanna is battling cancer.
Oh, wow.
And the way the adults and kids handle this news is so different.
Right.
It adds this whole other layer to the story.
It does.
Showing how families often cope with difficult situations.
Yeah.
In very different ways.
Yeah, it raises some really tough questions about how we protect those we love from pain.
Remember how awkward Stephen, Belly's brother, and Belly felt?
Yeah. Like they were outsiders to this huge secret.
Right.
And you can feel the tension between Conrad and Jeremiah, hinting at deeper issues stemming from their parents' separation.
Right.
It's like Han is saying that even seemingly perfect families have their hidden struggles.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that everyone is carrying around their own burdens, even amidst the carefree atmosphere of summer.
Totally.
Yeah.
And as Belly navigates her own coming-of-age experiences, she's also forced to confront the complexities of these adult relationships, which is something I think a lot of teenagers can relate to.
Right.
Like, you're dealing with your own dramas.
Right.
But then there's this whole other layer of adult stuff that you're only partially privy to.
It's like you're on the cusp of adulthood.
Yeah.
Catching glimpses of the challenges and heartaches that lie ahead.
Yeah.
But you're not quite equipped to handle them yet.
And you see that playing out in some of the scenes between Billy and the brothers.
There's one where Jeremiah is teaching her to drive stick shift.
Okay.
And they have this really sweet conversation about first kisses.
Oh, nice.
It felt so vulnerable and authentic.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the more distant dynamic she has with Conrad.
That's a great example of how Han uses those everyday moments to reveal deeper truths about her characters.
Right.
It's not just about learning to drive. It's about sharing a vulnerable experience.
Right.
Building a connection based on trust and understanding.
And it highlights that longing for connection that's so central to the coming-of-age experience.
Exactly.
But even as Belly is drawn to Jeremiah's warmth and openness, she still can't shake off her idealized vision of Conrad.
Right.
And we start to see her making choices that show her burgeoning independence, like deciding to go to a party with Cam, a new guy, instead of sticking with the brothers.
Interesting.
What did you make of that decision?
It was definitely a turning point.
Okay.
It represents a branching out, a willingness to explore new possibilities.
Yeah.
Beyond her established summer routine.
Right.
It's like she's testing the waters of her own agency, realizing that she has the power to make choices that diverge from her past experiences.
You're right.
Yeah.
It shows that she's not just passively following the same old patterns.
Right.
She's actively seeking out new experiences. And that's such an important part of growing up.
It is, and her relationship with Cam offers a stark contrast to her idealized vision of Conrad.
Yeah.
Cam is attentive, genuinely interested in her, and makes her feel seen in a way that Conrad doesn't.
Right.
He represents that potential for a more grounded, realistic kind of love.
And it makes you wonder if part of Belly's attraction to Conrad stems from this need to prove herself, to win over someone who seems unattainable.
That's a really interesting point.
Oh, thanks.
I think it speaks to the way we often conflate love with validation, especially in those early relationships.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, if we can win over the hard-to-get person, it somehow validates our own worth.
Exactly.
But even as Belly explores these new feelings with Cam, she can't completely shake off her feelings for Conrad. Remember that scene at the beach where she chooses to comfort him after his fight with Jeremiah, even though he's been pushing her away?
That scene really struck me.
Yeah.
Because it shows how complex and often contradictory our emotions can be, especially when it comes to love.
Yeah.
It's like Belly's head is telling her to move on,
Right.
but her heart is still drawn to Conrad, despite the hurt he's caused her.
It's that classic push and pull of adolescence, right?
Sure.
Where logic and emotions are constantly battling it out.
And it's something I think many of us can relate to even as adults.
Yeah.
We all have those relationships that hold a certain power over us,
Mm-hmm.
even when we know they might not be healthy or sustainable.
It makes you wonder if part of growing up is learning to let go of those idealized versions of people
Yeah.
and accepting them and ourselves for who we truly are.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that people are complex and flawed,
Right.
and that love doesn't always fit neatly into our preconceived notions.
And that journey of self-discovery,
Yes.
of shedding those childhood fantasies and embracing the messy reality of relationships is what makes this story so compelling.
It is, and Han does a brilliant job of capturing the nuances of that journey, the joy and the heartbreak, the confusion and the clarity that come with figuring out who you are and what you want in life.
It's making me think about my own summer memories, those formative experiences that shaped my views on love and friendship.
Me too. It's like those seemingly carefree summer days
Yeah.
hold so much more weight than we realize at the time.
Right.
They become these touchstones for who we were, who we are, and who we're becoming.
I couldn't agree more.
Right. And it's incredible how a simple scent or sound can just unlock
Oh, yeah.
a flood of memories.
Totally.
Han's use of sensory details is so powerful.
Right.
The smell of chlorine from the pool.
Mm.
The taste of Susanna's homemade popsicles.
Yeah.
It's like she's bottled up the essence of summer
Yes.
and poured it into her writing.
I know. It's like I can practically feel the sand between my toes and the sun on my skin just reading those descriptions.
Yeah.
And those details aren't just there for atmosphere, right?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
For instance,
Yeah.
remember that scene where Belly describes the pool water feeling different on her skin
Okay.
now that she's turned pretty?
Yeah.
It's a subtle shift.
Right.
But it speaks volumes about how her perception of herself and her place in the world has changed.
It's like her senses are heightened because she's experiencing everything with a newfound awareness
Right?
of her own body and how others perceive her.
Exactly.
It makes those everyday moments feel charged with meaning.
It does.
And speaking of charged moments,
Yes.
the revelation about Susanna's cancer
Right.
really throws everything into a different light.
It does.
The way she tries to shield the kids from her illness,
Yeah.
wanting to maintain that sense of normalcy, is both heartbreaking and understandable.
It is. It raises some really tough questions about how we protect those we love from pain,
Yeah.
even when it feels impossible to do so.
Right.
Susanna's choice reflects her deep love for Bellies and the boys, but it also creates this barrier of secrecy
Right.
that ultimately adds to the tension.
Totally. It makes you think about how honesty and communication,
Yes.
even when it's difficult, are so crucial in any relationship, especially within families.
Exactly.
And the way the adults and kids handle the situation so differently is fascinating. It's like they're speaking different languages.
Oh, it's a classic example of the generational divide
Yeah.
in how we approach difficult topics.
Yeah.
The adults are trying to maintain a facade of lightness, while the kids, particularly Conrad,
Right.
are carrying the weight of this secret,
Yeah.
and it's clearly eating away at them.
It's like they're all trying to protect each other, but in doing so, they're creating these unspoken rifts.
Yeah.
And that's something I think a lot of families can relate to,
Absolutely.
even if the circumstances are different.
Right.
We all have our own ways of coping with difficult situations.
Yeah.
And sometimes those coping mechanisms clash.
Exactly. And those unspoken tensions often manifest in unexpected ways.
Like, remember that awkward scene where Susanna and Laurel are smoking pot
Oh, yeah?
to help with Susanna's nausea from chemo, and the boys walk in?
Oh, yeah.
I cringed so hard during that scene.
Oh, gosh.
It was such a jarring juxtaposition,
Yeah.
this attempt at lightheartedness in the face of such a serious situation.
But it also highlights the absurdity of it all, right?
Okay.
Here are these adults trying to cope with something so heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're resorting to this almost childish act of rebellion.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even when life throws you curveballs,
Right.
there's still room for humor and absurdity.
I think that's what makes Han's writing so relatable. She doesn't shy away from those awkward,
Right.
uncomfortable moments that are so often a part of real life.
Yeah.
And even amidst the heavier themes of illness and family secrets, there's this undercurrent of humor that keeps the story from feeling too bleak.
Absolutely. It's a balancing act that she pulls off masterfully.
Right.
And speaking of balancing acts, Belly is trying to juggle her own feelings while also navigating the complexities of the Fisher family drama.
She's caught in the middle of this tug of war between Conrad and Jeremiah. Right. And then there's the added layer of Susanna's illness.
All right, it's a lot for a teenager to process.
It is, and I think that's one of the things I admire most about Belly as a character. She's not perfect, she makes mistakes. Yeah. She's often impulsive and driven by her emotions. Right. But she's also incredibly resilient and compassionate.
I agree. She's flawed and relatable in a way that makes her feel so real. Right. And it's through those flaws that we see her growth. There are moments when she withdraws, seeking solace in her memories of past summers. Right. Those idealized versions of Conrad and Jeremiah that offer a sense of comfort and stability. Right. But then there are moments when she steps up, offering comfort and support to those around her, even when it's difficult.
Like that scene where she confronts Conrad on the beach, calling him out on his behavior.
That scene really resonated with me. Yeah. It shows her willingness to speak her mind, even when it's uncomfortable. Right. Even when it risks pushing away someone she cares about. Yeah. She's not afraid to challenge those idealized versions of people. Right. And that's a huge step towards self-awareness.
And it's interesting to see how that newfound self-awareness influences her relationship with Cam. Yeah. He's so different from Conrad.
He is.
More open, communicative, and emotionally available. Right. It's like he offers a glimpse of what a healthy, balanced relationship could look like.
He does, and their scenes together are so refreshing. Yeah. They have this easy banter, a shared sense of humor, and a genuine curiosity about each other. It's a reminder that love doesn't always have to be fraught with drama and intensity. Right. Sometimes the most fulfilling relationships are the ones built on a foundation of mutual respect. Yeah. Shared interests. And just plain fun.
It's like Belly is finally allowing herself to experience love without all the baggage and expectations. Yeah. She's projected onto Conrad. Right. And it makes you wonder if those idealized visions of love we often hold as teenagers are ultimately setting us up for disappointment.
I think that's a really insightful question.
Thanks.
And it speaks to the larger theme of how our expectations shape our experiences.
Yeah.
We often project our own desires and fantasies onto others.
Right.
And when those fantasies don't align with reality, it can lead to heartbreak and disillusionment.
It's like we have to unlearn those idealized notions of love in order to truly connect with someone on a deeper level. Right. And that unlearning process can be messy and painful. Yes. But it's ultimately what allows us to grow and evolve.
Exactly. And it's something that Belly is grappling with throughout the novel. Right. She's constantly questioning her feelings, trying to reconcile her heart with her head. And while it's frustrating at times, it's also incredibly relatable.
It's that inner turmoil that makes her such a compelling character. Right. We're all constantly evolving, questioning our choices and trying to figure out what truly matters. Yeah. And Han's writing captures that process with such raw honesty and vulnerability.
It does. And it's not just about Belly's romantic relationships. Okay. Her friendships, particularly with Taylor, are also put to the test this summer.
Right.
Remember how betrayed she felt when Taylor started pursuing Conrad? Yeah. Felt like a violation of their friendship. But it also forced Belly to confront her own insecurities. Right. And make choices about who she wanted to be.
That was such a pivotal moment.
Wow.
It showed that even the closest friendships can be tested, especially during those turbulent teenage years, when everyone is trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in.
Exactly.
And it's not always pretty.
It's not, but I think those conflicts are essential for growth. Yeah. It's through those challenges that we learn to set boundaries, prioritize our own needs, and ultimately develop stronger, healthier relationships.
You're right. It's about recognizing that relationships, even the most cherished ones, aren't static.
They're not.
They're constantly evolving just as we are.
Exactly. And Han doesn't shy away from portraying those messy dynamics, which makes the story feel so authentic and relatable. Right. It's like we're right there with Belly, experiencing those highs and lows of friendship. First love and figuring out who we are in the world.
And let's not forget about the flashbacks woven throughout the story.
Oh, yeah.
They add such depth and richness to the characters and
Right.
their relationships.
Right.
We see glimpses of Belly's earlier summers at Cousins Beach,
Yeah.
her childhood memories with Conrad and Jeremiah,
Mm-hmm.
and those moments take on a whole new meaning
They do.
in light of the present-day drama.
It's a brilliant use of flashback.
Right.
Those glimpses into the past provide a layered perspective, allowing us to see how Belly's perceptions of Conrad and Jeremiah have evolved over time.
Right.
It's like we're piecing together the puzzle of their shared history,
Yeah.
understanding how those early experiences have shaped their present-day dynamics.
And it makes you realize how much our memories influence our understanding of the present. It's like we're constantly filtering our experiences through the lens of the past.
Right.
And sometimes those filters can distort our perceptions,
Yes.
preventing us from seeing people and situations clearly.
That's so true. It's like Belly is trying to hold on to those idealized versions of Conrad and Jeremiah,
Right.
the boys she knew from those carefree summers of her childhood.
Yeah.
But the reality is they've all grown and changed.
Mm-hmm.
And those changes are both exciting and terrifying.
It's that push and pull between holding on to the past
Yeah.
and embracing the future
Right.
that makes coming-of-age stories so resonant.
It does.
We're all navigating that tension in our own lives.
Absolutely. And Han captures that tension with such nuance and sensitivity.
Right.
She doesn't offer easy answers or tidy resolutions.
Yeah.
Instead, she allows her characters to make mistakes,
Right.
to stumble, and to ultimately find their own way,
Yeah.
which is what makes this story feel so honest and authentic.
And I think that's what makes The Summer I Turned Pretty so compelling.
It is.
It's not just a fluffy beach read.
Right.
It's a story about the complexities of love,
Hmm.
friendship, family,
Yeah.
and finding your place in the world. It's about those messy, awkward, often contradictory experiences
Yeah.
that make us human.
I couldn't agree more.
Right.
It's a story that stays with you long after you finish reading it,
Yeah.
prompting you to reflect on your own journey
Yeah.
of self-discovery.
Right. And those defining moments that shaped who you are today.
I love how you put that.
Yeah.
It's like those seemingly carefree days of summer often hold more weight than we realize at the time.
Right.
They shape us,
Yeah.
challenge us, and ultimately help us discover who we are.
Exactly.
And Han's writing has this way of transporting you right back to those moments,
Yeah.
those feelings, with such vividness and authenticity.
It's like you're reliving those summers right alongside Belly.
Right.
It really does. You know, it's like she's tapped into something universal.
Yeah.
About the power of summer memories. Those fleeting moments of joy and heartbreak that shape who we become.
And it makes you wonder, is it possible to ever truly recapture the magic
Yeah.
of those perfect summers as we get older?
Yeah.
Or is it more about appreciating the unique memories and lessons
Right.
that each summer brings?
That's such a great question.
Yeah.
It's like we're always chasing that feeling of freedom and possibility
Right.
that seems so abundant in our youth.
Yeah.
But maybe as we mature, it's less about replicating those exact experiences
Yeah.
and more about recognizing the ways in which those summers have shaped our perspectives on love, friendship, and ourselves.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the growth we've experienced, the lessons we've learned,
Yeah.
and the ways in which those experiences have enriched our lives.
Right.
And it's about embracing
Yeah.
the new chapters that unfold, even if they look different
Yeah.
from what we might have imagined back then.
I love that.
Yeah.
And as the summer draws to a close in the novel, we see Belly wrestling with these very questions.
Okay.
The revelation about Susanna's illness casts a shadow over everything,
Right.
forcing everyone to confront the fragility of life
Yeah.
and the preciousness of those shared moments. It's like the carefree innocence of summer is shattered,
Yeah.
and they're all forced to grapple with a harsher reality.
It's a powerful turning point in the story.
Right.
It shifts the focus from those lighthearted coming-of-age experiences to something much deeper and more profound.
Right.
It's about confronting loss,
Yeah.
accepting the things we can't control, and finding the strength to move forward.
There's this incredibly raw and emotional scene where Belly comforts Conrad on the beach
Yeah.
after he breaks down about Susanna's illness. It's a stark contrast to their usual dynamic,
Right.
with Conrad's walls finally crumbling
Right.
and Belly stepping up in a way she never has before.
That scene always gets to me.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about Belly's capacity for empathy and compassion. She's able to put aside her own hurt and confusion to be there for Conrad in his moment of need.
Yeah.
And it shows a depth of maturity that I think surprised even her.
It really does, and it highlights the power of human connection. The way we can find solace and support in the most unexpected places.
Right.
Especially during times of grief and uncertainty.
And even amidst the sadness and uncertainty of that ending,
Yeah.
there's still a glimmer of hope, a sense of possibility for the future.
Right.
Remember when Conrad shows up at Billy's house,
Yeah?
asking if she's still coming with him? It leaves you hanging,
It does.
wondering if they can rebuild their relationship
Right.
on a foundation of honesty and vulnerability after all they've been through.
That ending was such a cliffhanger.
It was.
It left me wanting more,
Yeah.
eager to see how their story unfolds in the subsequent books.
Right.
But it also made me think about
Yeah.
the nature of closure
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's always possible to tie up loose ends neatly, especially when it comes to matters of the heart.
And I think that's part of the beauty of Han's storytelling.
Yeah.
She doesn't shy away from ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves space for interpretation,
Right.
allowing the reader to draw their own conclusions.
Yeah.
And to grapple with those lingering questions about love, loss, and the enduring power of memory.
And I think that ambiguity is what makes the story so resonant.
Right.
It reflects the messy reality of life.
Yeah,
The way things don't always wrap up neatly with a bow on top.
exactly.
It leaves you with this lingering feeling of bittersweetness, a sense that even as we move forward,
Yeah.
certain experiences and relationships
Right.
continue to shape who we are.
It's like those summer memories become woven into the fabric of our lives,
Yeah.
informing our perspectives, our choices, and our understanding of ourselves.
Right.
They're not just fleeting moments.
Right.
They're part of who we are,
Yeah.
shaping our present and influencing our future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into The Summer I Turned Pretty,
Yeah.
what's your final thought for our listener?
Oh, that's a good question.
What should they take away from this exploration of coming of age,
Hmm.
first love, and the bittersweet pangs of summer?
I would encourage you to reflect on your own summer memories. Those experiences that shaped your view of love, friendship, and family.
Yeah.
What were those defining moments
Yeah.
that made you feel alive,
Yeah.
that challenged your perspectives, that left an imprint on your heart?
Right.
And how have those experiences influenced the person you are today?
That's such a beautiful sentiment.
Ah, thanks.
It's a reminder that those seemingly carefree days of summer often hold more weight than we realize at the time.
Yeah,
They shape us, challenge us,
they do.
and ultimately help us discover who we are.
They do.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes.
It's been a real pleasure exploring these themes with you.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time.